Now students, we're going to come over to the miter box saw. So here on the miter box saw, it's very similar to the radial arm saw. We've got a couple of similar parts. First of all, the miter box saw cuts cross cuts, so we're cutting across the grain, and it cuts miters. A miter cut is an angle cut. So most miter box saws can tilt the table like this, where you can cut on different angles. But for our classes, we're going to mostly be just using it as a cutoff saw, cutting straight. We will do some miters on a few projects in some of our classes. So the miter box saw, very similar to the radial arm saw. It's got a 6-inch margin of safety, 6 inches that you want to stay away from the blade and the path of the blade. We've got our reminder line to keep your fingers back behind this line. On our saw here though, we want to hold it here on the right side or here. All right, now we switch the camera up to more of a user view of how you're going to see it closer as you come up to use the saw. So right now I got the bigger board on. You can kind of see the laser. I'm not sure how much it shows up on it. I'm going to go ahead and put this black paper right there and maybe it'll show up a little bit more. Now the laser is really useful because it tells us where the blade's going to cut. Now it's not perfect though, because it really only shows us the left-hand side of the blade. So the laser is helpful, but we're going to really more go off of not worrying so much about the laser. So to use the saw, we're going to do some basic operations. So we need to first have our board that has some flat sides and a flat edge. That's going to be safe to come over to the miter box saw. We're going to take the handle right here, and inside of it there's a switch. By closing your hand, it turns it on. And then as I let go, you heard the brake kick on, and that shut it off. So that's how we're going to turn on and off the saw. We're going to take the board here, bring it over to about the laser. I'm going to hold it here on the hold side. I'm not crossing my arms. I'm going to bring it down and see how much I'm going to take off. Take off about that much. Hold it tight, because if I don't, it'll vibrate as I turn on the saw. So I'm holding it tight. Let the saw reach full speed and cut all the way through. Now, you want to go through the board, release the lever, release the switch so that the blade slows down, and then you can immediately bring it back up. So normally it's going to happen about this quick. And we're ready to go through and cut it to length. So this time we're going to cut it to 12.5 inches long. So I've got my stop set over here on the other side, 12.5 inches long. I'm going to hold it tight here on the hold spot. You can see the laser. I'll try to put the board there. You can see the laser right there where it's going to cut, but as soon as I move it, the laser disappears. And so I'll go ahead and let it reach full speed, cut it through, making sure I'm tight to the table, tight to the fence, and tight to the stop. Okay, the last few things we need to hit about the miter box saw have to do with, we talked about how the board has to be flat and straight, so we're not able to cut anything round on the miter box saw, be it PVC pipe, be it dowels, be it wooden broom handles. But those don't have flat sides to hold it down tight to make the cut. Just like on the radial arm saw, always hold tight to the fence, always hold tight to the back, and when we're using the stop, hold it between the stop and the blade. When you're cutting, the little scraps sometimes get caught up in what we call the throat area. That's this area right here and then behind it. So if a piece gets caught back there, as we come up to make our next cut, it's going to grab that little chunk of wood and throw it. Usually doesn't do much more than just scare you, and damage the blade. So every cut you make, check that throat area. After the blade stops, reach back there, get the pieces out of the way, and you'll be good to go. Enjoy using the miter box saw.